everywhere, but those are abundant.
I think I know that house.
It was on the market for $805, sold as is,
Yeah.
right?
I do know that house.
Sold as is. I asked the agent, and yeah, good opportunity. And I go, hey, do you realize a rental loan can close on this? And I explained a little bit and followed back up a month later. Hey, how'd it go? Oh, we sold it. Oh, awesome. What'd you get? $550 or something like that. Oh, what'd you do that for? So it was all cash. We just closed it. So think of that. What a disservice to the seller, the kids. What a disservice to the neighbors. Yeah. When you could have came in on a rental loan, that house, you put 100 into it, 150, that house will comp at $1 million, no problem. But he just shoved it off the market for $550. So the point is how many of these homes can you find? How can you change your listing presentation to take this on? How can you market it to potential buyers to come in? Absolutely, these are abundant out there. Can you add the buy down to a rental loan? Absolutely you can. So think of the buy down. Think of the buy down in your mind's eye as it's an attachment, right? And then where can I help, right? It's like a penicillin, we'll call it too, like a tablet. It fixes a lot of different issues. From the seller's position of equity, from affordability with David, to back-end ratios of a client, to reduce, right, the payment to come into your house on an FHA loan. It fixes all. Yeah. And it does it for 1/3 of the money. And think of when these rates start to settle down, we'll start to have a bigger spread. But right now, I know you've probably heard of the margin compression it's called. That's where the rates have gone up so far, is the capital markets don't want to increase that top line, so they're leaving it there, but the rates are coming up into it. So the spread is small. So par would be 5 1/8 or whatever, 5%, so buying down is small. But once rates start to settle in a little bit, you start to see the spread. Back in 7, 8, 9, the spread was 7 1/8, and we were taking it down almost 2 full points for the same amount of money. Right now, it's in here. So questions? Got you guys thinking, right?
But for the listing, for the seller, whatever that reduction, 25,000, he gonna lose it anyway, right? Either you go for
right, well,
pricing reduction
net.
or
It's a net. So think of a net. If the house is priced at 100,000, he just sells it, it's free and clear, you know, he made 100. But if he sells it and he gives 25,000, let's say to the potential buyer, that's what it needed, so he netted 75. Versus the price reduction was what? All the way down here. So he's gonna net, either you're gonna reduce his price to 50 or 40 or 60, so it's about the net. So if you work on the net. So like on the example we have on here, if the house is free and clear, right? The seller's gonna net 568. If we sold it, remember the payments are exactly the same. Income to qualify is exactly the same. What's his net at 660? 635. What was the difference? 60 grand. You kept 60 grand in the seller's net sheet. By understanding financing, then your quick price reductions. For example, who taught you how to price reduce? Jason?
Before that.
Well, yeah, go back, right? Well, so you only price reduce, right? And it just continue to pass on. So we only price reduce for 2 reasons. Either get it to where it's appraised value, right? Or your next move is to entice a buyer to find, for affordability. All I'm saying is if it's at appraised value, our next move should be working with financing. It shouldn't be a price reduction. Because you can do it for less money. You can have a bigger impact by doing it with less. And if you understand it, my award winner is right here. Even though you were confused, you nailed it because you take that to the up leg too. If it's a listing, you fix a seller situation and it brings it right back to your transaction you can deal with.
What about if you don't have enough leg?
Right.
Let's say, what was the question?
What if you don't have enough leg on this?
Well, we got to fix, so I always ask questions.
Yeah.
what's going on here? What are we doing? Are we downsizing? Is this the retirement? So think of, if they're just retiring to move into the kids, they're moving into the 80 unit that the kids are building in their backyard, right?
No, not even.
Well, I'm just saying an
No,
example.
But this has been the problem with that, because there is no place. She owns land and she's going to go build on it in another country.
Yeah, so the perfect angle here is to maximize her net.
Yeah, exactly,
That's all it is. So do we do it at 635 or do it at 568? So it's either, so you know what I mean? So the 568, follow me here? The 568, we didn't touch financing. The 660, we actually fixed the financing issue.
So you're assuming that it's gonna eventually be reduced to five,
It could,
whatever,
it could. But the reason I show this, the software is showing, see the payment, 4260, 4260? Let's say that is the issue. That is the issue either for personal budget-wise or affordability ratio-wise. I gotta get my payment. Let's say there's massive student loans back behind the scenes, or whatever. I gotta get it to there. And so if you had a buyer and that's your only buyer, and they said, hey, I just need it there. All right, well, 568. So we gotta sell it for 568. It's the only offer we've had for months. Let's sell it. And I'm saying, no, we don't have to do that. We can sell it for appraised value and still address the buyer's concerns of affordability, right? And everybody wins. Yeah, so
Way to get in touch with
so here's how impromptu this meeting was. So here's what it, write this number down. Here's my cell phone number. Let me back up a second, who I am. Scott Nicholson. I was walking by the hallways, I'm going in.
I just flag him in.
So Christy and I, hey, can you speak? So the background is
Really
Christy
bad.
Coffee, you guys all know Christy. Christy and I go back a long time. We've done a lot of educational together over the years. And so we spoke, and this would be a good an educational opportunity for everyone. So my name is Scott Nicholson. I live in Yorba Linda. I used to live literally across the street. My office is 310 right above here. And so my cell phone number is 562-225-0769. 0769. So here's how it would go. You can text me, right, and say, hey Scott, I want to talk to you. I have a situation with a buyer, or I want to go even deeper. I want you to show me the numbers on this so I can then basically lay it over to my seller or potential buyer, right? And that's the whole thing. We got to sit down and structure. And that's what we're trying to achieve here, to keep those guys on the outside of the wall. Or when they get in here, they're not properly armed to defend themselves with this type of knowledge. They're just not going to do it, if that makes sense. Nor is the LO have the education or the background to structure that, if that makes sense.
So you're a lender?
I am a lender.
And what's the company?
Oh, the company's name is Mortgage Possible. It's the retail division of SunWest. So my email is scott.nicholson@mortgagepossible.com. Questions? We're going to wrap this up. Jason's probably going to need it enough.
No, just what we were talking about last night. We've been looking at the different marketplaces here
Yeah.
yesterday during collaboration.
Okay.
And just by looking at, price reductions that we're seeing.
So, so show me what I'm looking at.
This is basically,
There's the list price.
yeah, so this is the, price reduction, red arrow, see that?
How much are those reductions right there?
You just have to pull them up. In order to see. They did it, 3 times here, looks like they started off at 775, which they dropped it to 7.
So they dropped it 25 grand, right? So there's a great strategy for that agent. There's a great strategy for your potential buyer. They like the house, but the payment doesn't meet. Pull up a bigger property. And that's what you're looking for now. You're also looking for distressed properties too. And every client that comes through a renovation, it's not 100%, but it's high. I'll give you an example. We brought an offer on a duplex, needed work, got it for $460. The rental cost was $108, so our acquisition price was $568. We used the K, which is 3.5% down. He picks his own contractor. We got the itemized bid in there. I ordered the appraisal. Appraisal came back in at $730. We funded the loan. I put the 108 into plus a contingency reserve into an escrow account. Funded it. Everyone's gone. We evicted the one tenant in one. We remodeled it. The $730 now becomes realized at the 6th month after the purchase closed. We just did a rate and term refi, moved him from a FHA 203K into a conventional loan. First time home buyer. Used the second unit for income to qualify. That's how you be creative in this market. Versus someone's gonna go in there and try to go, well, you know, the buyers, the investors were coming in there trying to swoop it up, but they were driving it so low, just like, yeah. But we smoked the rental loans, the all cash buyer killer. Is because the all cash buyer is usually the investor that's trying to swoop it in. They figure, okay, if I get it for here, my upgrades are here, I gotta build my margins for profit, so they would be offering somewhere in the low 4s. But we gave them a fair price at $460. Ultimately, my client, first time home buyer, now has 22% equity.
So I have one of those.
Okay. Duplex, fixer?
No, it's a fixer.
Okay.
One of the sellers or the children, one of the children from it, has a friend who wants to buy it.
Yep.
Maybe you should talk.
Buy as is. So it's your buyers looking at this property.
No, it's not my buyer. The
It's your
buyer has an
listing?
agent.
Oh, it's your listing?
It will be my list.
Got it. How much,
We've already had a couple of investors look at it.
Right.
They're coming in blue.
Exactly. How bad is it?
I think the house could sell for about $490 to $500 if it was fixed up, and they're offering $325.
Here's how that formula works. The first thing is say, how much if I put the property back together, Humpty Dumpty, would compound to be? 500, right? 500. You follow me here? Now I got to figure out what's my cost to put it back. Not extravagant. You can go extravagant. Heck, you can add bed and bath counts to this.
It's 80.
So 80, right? So 500 minus 80 gives me a sales price of 420. Someone could technically come up to 420, get the rental cost for 80. It's called an acquisition price when you roll sales plus rental. It's called an acquisition. So at 500, you can use, and what county is it?
East LA.
Okay, so LA County, you can use either it's a first time home buyer, you can use a Fannie Mae 3%, or you can use a 203K at 3.5%, depending on their qualifications. And so all you're doing is running the numbers. Their down payments, if the acquisition is $500,000, it's 15 grand, right? And so what happens is, so what's my after improved value? What's Humpty Dumpty comp's worth? 5. What's my rental cost? Then that starts where the sales price can go. If it goes higher than that, right? So let's say you get it at, you're countering up to 410, 420, no, 450, right? Or 460. So the acquisition price goes to 540. I can't get value at 540. Because remember, in a rental transaction, I physically upload the itemized bid to the appraiser. They show the property, and they know exactly what we're doing. That's why we're getting future value of the property. That's why we're getting the $500,000. So what you could do is, we can educate a potential buyer to come in here at, let's say, 400. 80 in reno, their acquisition's 480. Put 3.5 down to that. They have 20,000 in equity once it closes. Then once the reno's done, let's say it's a few months, then if they close January 1st, 6 months later, we have new value. They can actually refi if credit's there and everything else lines up. We're refining a conventional loan.
The buyer has supposedly been approved for up to 700, but apparently she wants this house.
Right, and so here's the catch to that.